to talk about the fact that part of their argument against him is they say he's too friendly with autocrats like Vladimir Putin. There's reporting out of the Wall Street Journal this week exclusively that Elon Musk, who's now fully supportive of President Trump and out campaigning with him, has been having conversations with Vladimir Putin regularly over the last couple of years. There have been some questions raised about, given the government contracts, the access to security information, that classified information that Musk has, that there is a problem there, potentially a national security issue. Bill Nelson, now the NASA administrator, used to be Democrat senator from Florida. They're a colleague of yours. He says there should be investigation into this regarding Musk. Do you think there should be?
Well, first of all, anybody that has contracts with the U.S. government undergoes a constant review for security background and clearances, for that matter. I will tell you that without SpaceX, I don't know how we're going to rescue our astronauts that are stuck in space. I don't know how we're going to do some of the things that need to be done. All that said, I can't opine on whether Musk called Putin or not, because I don't know, and he's a private citizen, and if it somehow that imperils his clearance, there's a process for all of that, and it's not through the media, and it's not in the middle of a political campaign. Let me say something about being friendly to autocrats and so forth. I am not a fan of Vladimir Putin. I think Vladimir Putin is an enemy of the United States. By the same token, I assure you, Donald Trump and any future American president as well is going to have to interact with Vladimir Putin because he has the largest nuclear stockpile in the world, because he has one of the world's largest militaries, because they're a power in the world that has to be dealt with. That doesn't mean you have to be friendly to them. That doesn't mean you have to endanger the United States in order to interact with them. But you know, the Biden administration has had interactions with the Putin regime over there and so forth. It's the reality of governing in the world. So it's a stupid accusation.
Well, while we're on the subject of Russia, the White House confirms this week it believes that thousands of North Korean troops have gone over to aid Russia in its war on Ukraine. What do you make of that development? What should the U.S. response be?
Well, I think I make of it that the world is in total chaos, and you can link it all the way back to the day that we were run out of Afghanistan by the Taliban, humiliated in the way that we were. And that was a signal to the world, not just that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are weak, but that America is weak, and now is the time to act. And it's not a coincidence that since that moment, we had the invasion in Ukraine, we had October 7th, we had all the things happening now in the Middle East, we have the Houthis endangering global shipping in the Red Sea, we have the Chinese harassing the Philippines and making plans to invade Taiwan. None of these things are coincidental. They were all triggered by that very graphic example of American weakness under Biden and Harris. Now, that's what I make of it. The world is spinning into chaos because the Biden-Harris administration has been feckless. And let me argue this, it's going to get worse if Kamala Harris is president of the United States. This was a person that, as vice president, prioritized not the national security of our country, but whether our intelligence agencies were being fair and nice and appropriate and to women, and whether gender was being appropriately accounted for. You saw the reporting overnight. They sent back analysts to take a special class to ensure that in our intelligence analysis, when they were talking about global leaders that were women, that they were somehow not discriminated against, or that we didn't use tough language in describing them. That we should be focused on the security of our country, the threats to America, not all this woke ideology that she will inject, has already tried to inject into our national security apparatus in our country.
You talk about the intel community. You mentioned the Middle East there, because I want to ask about this too. You're the ranking member on Senate Intel. The FBI is now investigating a leak of documents or material related to Israel, our ally, that may have delayed their response, their attacks on Iran. How worried are you that that happened because of somebody who is working within the U.S. government?
Well, it has to be someone who was working in the U.S. government that had access to that information, that either gave it to someone who put it out there or put it out there directly. We know, because we've seen it in all these different dissents. They're a bunch of cowards, by the way, all these people that are anti-Israel, and they say we think this is wrong and we shouldn't be supporting Israel. They never generally openly sign the names to any of these things. But let me tell you that there are elements within our U.S. government that hate Israel, that sympathize with Hamas and Hezbollah. And this looks to me, I can't prove, we're going to see what the investigation shows, but this proves to me that this indicates to me that this was a treasonous act by someone in the U.S. government to undermine Israel and by extension, this national security of the United States. I hope they find who did this, or the people who did this, because it was done deliberately to harm Israel and ultimately endangers Americans as well. And it's treason, and it should be prosecuted as such.
All right, Senator, real quickly before you go, the vice president has suggested, should she win and Democrats hold the Senate, that she would get rid of the filibuster, at least on the issue of abortion. Do you think your Democrats colleagues, if that's the scenario, would go along with getting rid of something that could come back to bite them when they're not in power?
Yes, because I think that they will do it. If the Democrats keep the Senate, they will get rid of the filibuster, especially now that the two Democrats that were against doing that are going to be gone. They're going to do that, and it's not just going to be on abortion. They're going to do it to remake the Supreme Court and pack it. They're going to do it to pass the Green New Deal. They're going to do it to pass every idea that isn't popular or couldn't pass, that she's not campaigning on now, by the way, as many of these issues, because she knows they're unpopular. They're going to use that to ram it through the United States Senate. That's why they want to get rid of the filibuster at this point. I'm convinced if they win, they will get rid of the filibuster, and they will do that to ram through all these radical left-wing ideas that she supports but isn't campaigning on, because knows she can't win if she does.